Looks like we have all the information we need now for the Johnson & Johnson Kenvue split off. So what I thought I would do is give one final update video so that you can have the information that at least what I think is relevant at your fingertips. So, and I want this to be a short video, so let's go ahead and get started. Hey guys, Kevin Burgess back again with another video. I wanted to update the update on Johnson & Johnson Kenvue split off. There's a lot of information out there now, and I went through their prospectus. I laid out, at least on a PowerPoint slide, what I think are the most salient points for me as an investor, and I think it might be of interest to you as well. Now, if you're new to the channel, you don't know who I am. My name is Kevin Burgess. I love investing in dividend stocks. I spent my career in the accounting, internal audit, and risk departments of a public company, very familiar with SEC filings and public company transactions. So I think I bring a unique perspective to dividend stock investing. So if you like videos like this, if you give me a thumbs up, I would appreciate it. It lets everyone know that the content in here is worthwhile. Also, if you don't mind subscribing to the channel, I'd love to have you along for the journey. So with that, let's get started. Okay, so I've titled this the JNJ KVUE update. Just a few quick things as an update. First of all, why am I updating on it again? It is because it is a complicated transaction. Normally, we see a lot of spinoffs. We don't see split-offs very often. And my buddy Tutomi here sent a message through YouTube this morning and said, hey, is there any chance you can do an update video about JNJ and what you're thinking to do with JNJ in your portfolio? So I thought I would take the opportunity just to do that in a quick video. So let's move forward. Some relevant points from the JNJ KVUE prospectus. This prospectus is dated July 24th. If you've got a lot of Kenvue or if you've got a lot of Johnson & Johnson shares, it might be worthwhile for you to take a look at that filing. So first of all, the exchange offer, it expires the end of day, August the 18th. They're actually going to calculate the value of the shares on August 14th, 15th, and 16th. They're going to report out what that value is on the 17th. So on August the 17th, I think it's around 9 a.m., we will know for sure what the conversion ratio is for every share of Johnson & Johnson stock into Kenvue stock. So we don't know the exact number at this point, but on the 17th in the morning, we will know, and the end of the exchange offer is the end of day, August the 18th. So you have the 17th and the 18th to figure out what you're going to do once you know all of the information. So each share of Johnson & Johnson will be converted to Kenvue and is expected to receive a 7.53% incentive. And there's a complication here. There's a maximum number of shares that they will give. So unless the conversion ratio reaches 8.0549 shares, if it reaches that conversion ratio, there will be no more than 8.05 shares per Johnson & Johnson share. So the indicative ratios can be found on www.jnjseparation.com. That's a website where they're showing every day what the ratio would be if they were to actually value the shares today. So I think that's pretty helpful. We can kind of see that move along. The decision to convert J&J shares to Kenvue shares is voluntary. So if you don't want to convert any shares into Kenvue, you don't have to. You don't have to do anything. You just kind of let it go, and you will retain your Johnson & Johnson shares. There is a condition, though, and I think this, I've not heard much about this, but I don't expect it to happen, but it is a condition, and that is that there must be at least 460 million of the 1.5 billion shares of Kenvue distributed. So there's got to be enough people trade in their Johnson & Johnson shares to equal at least about 460 million Kenvue shares. Now, what happens if this thing is oversubscribed or undersubscribed? And if you don't know what that means, if it's oversubscribed, that means that there are more than enough Johnson & Johnson shareholders who are looking to convert into Kenvue. So it would be something more than the shares that Johnson & Johnson has to allocate out. If that happens, if there are more shares of Kenvue needed, they will actually prorate the distribution of those shares. So basically, they will just use arithmetic to take the number of shares and the number who want it, and they will work that down into a percentage, and that percentage is what we would get as shareholders. I'm not expecting that to happen, but it could happen. So if the shares are undersubscribed, and what that means is they reach at least the 460 million shares that they need of Kenvue shares, but not enough to get the entire 1.5 billion distributed to shareholders. Any difference is expected to be distributed as a cleanup spinoff. And basically that's what we are typically used to, where they will take any remaining shares and spin those off to the remaining Johnson & Johnson shareholders. So if you convert all of your shares of Johnson & Johnson into Kenvue, you would not participate in that spinoff. So if it's oversubscribed, they will prorate it down. If it's undersubscribed, they will basically spin off the rest of the remaining shares to the Johnson & Johnson shareholders. Another question that's come up is, what about odd lots? And I've looked a lot in their prospectus. So the only thing I found about odd lots is in this section here. It says, except as otherwise provided in this section, beneficial holders of less than 100 shares, that's what an odd lot is. A lot of shares is 100 shares. So an odd lot would be anything less than 100 shares of Johnson & Johnson common stock, who validly tender all of their shares, will not be subject to proration if the exchange offer is oversubscribed. So basically, if you have less than 100 shares and you want to trade in your Johnson & Johnson shares for Kenvue shares, and you have less than 100 and you do it all, if you look to convert all of your shares, then you would not be prorated if it's oversubscribed. If you only do some of your odd lot, then you would be subject to proration. So that's really the only thing that I notice in here about odd lots. And then lastly, if you own a fractional share of Johnson & Johnson and you're trading them all in, let's say 100.32 shares of Johnson & Johnson, and you trade in the whole 100.32, they would give you the Kenvue shares related to the 100 shares and then cash out the fractional shares of 0.32, and they would send you the cash for that. Okay, so what am I planning to do for the exchange? So first of all, I would like to own some Kenvue shares to keep the stability in my portfolio. I guess the way I look at that is Johnson & Johnson, currently is both, right? So I've got the JNJ that's going to remain and move forward, and I also have the Kenvue piece, and so that brings a little bit of stability to my portfolio. I think I'd like to keep that if I can. The next thing is there's a 7.5% incentive, which is a better deal than just going out and buying it on the open market. Also, Johnson & Johnson has announced that they will indemnify Kenvue for any of the talc liabilities. And I should preface that by saying that it's in the U.S. and Canada, but that's where I expect most of those liabilities to be, is in the U.S. and Canada. So, Kenvue carries a little bit of a different risk profile than Johnson & Johnson. I have roughly 335 shares of Johnson & Johnson. I plan to convert up to 100 of those shares. And there's a lot of time here. There's about, 3 weeks left. And I'm going to be looking at things as we move forward. It's possible I may convert 0. I may do the entire 100, but somewhere between 0 and 100 shares of Johnson & Johnson, I do plan to convert into Kenvue. I'll also have, 235 shares remaining. So if there is a supplemental cleanup spinoff, then I'll get some of the shares of Kenvue also related to that. Okay, so that's it. That's the update on Johnson & Johnson. If you have any questions on Johnson & Johnson, leave them in the comments below. I'd really like to hear, though, what you are planning to do with your Johnson & Johnson shares. You planning to stay with Johnson & Johnson? You're going to convert some of them or convert all of them? I'd like to hear from you on that. And, this is kind of a unique transaction. We don't see these every day. So it'd be good to kind of hear what other folks are doing. With that, I'm going to get out of your hair, and I will see you on the next video.